Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today we're back to playing children's games. No, it's not Peekaboo. No, it's not Tag. It's back to our favorite, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. Going to start the show ice-breaking our reactions to the Oscars winners, the Oscars ceremony, before jumping into a spoiler-free review of Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. And then we'll close out the show, as we always do, with a spoiler-filled discussion. Now, joining me in this game of hide-and-seek, he is my host. We are now, chained together, maybe more metaphorically than literally. He's my co-host, an award-winning Oklahoma filmmaker, Laron Chapman. Laron, welcome back.
I wouldn't want to be handcuffed with anyone else, Caleb.
So glad you feel the same way. I'm so glad you feel the same way. This would have been really awkward otherwise. Yes.
I think honestly we would do pretty well together in a game against survival. Yeah, because we strategize really well.
Strategize, we communicate, same page. Yeah. I agree. And, especially if this was horror trivia or movie trivia in general, where part of the job of surviving, I think would be in solid shape.
That's the card I wish I would have pulled, yeah.
Yeah, movie trivia. I bet everyone wished they pulled that card, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to be joined by an amazing panel of guests this week. We've had him on the show to talk about Megalopolis. We've had him on the show to talk about the Oklahoma Film Exchange. Today, we are going to have him here to talk about Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, but also his farewell tour. He is the founder of VHS and Chill, Sean Peel. Sean, welcome back, sir.
Hey, good to be back. I'm excited. So,
Sean, what card would you have preferred to have drawn? I just have to ask.
The movie trivia. That one, absolutely. That one would have been just fantastic.
I think we all win at that one. Movie trivia. I guess without saying.
Twister, anybody? Twister, maybe?
Twister. I want to see that movie. Tag, if you do Tag, I guess it's just that whole, do you remember that comedy from like 10 or so years ago with Jeremy Renner or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
Also very excited to be rejoined. Longtime The Cinematropolis contributor, also does writing for Flick Attack. One of my go-to horror aficionados, Christopher Schultz. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Chris, we're going to take movie trivia out of the running. What card would you pick? What card would you draw, I should say?
Maybe like Hungry Hippos, something. Something from my childhood. Just that.
Hungry Hippos. I kind of wonder, would there be real hippos involved with that one?
Probably.
With these rich people, they got a few.
They have a hippo connection for sure.
I've been to some of those oil money mansions out in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. There's definitely space for hippos. I got to say.
Yeah. They would be terrifying. Hippos are terrifying, so that would actually be a terrifying game.
They really are.
They seem cute, but apparently if you approach them, they will literally massacre you immediately, and they're huge. So I don't want to be playing with any hungry hippos. But Chris, best of luck to you in your endeavors to survive the hippos. Last but certainly not least, very excited to be rejoined. He is a fellow pop culture enthusiast, a podcast host, producer, principal and founder at Ader Communications, Chad Parizman. Chad, welcome back.
What's going on, guys?
And Chad, you're coming at us right up from South by Southwest, where you in fact saw Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, at the theater. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before that, we have a very important thing that was so much more important than South by Southwest, a film festival, which they're promoting new movies. We're talking about last year's movies, the Oscars. So we'll get to all your South by Southwest takes shortly.
Yeah, excited to be here. And I think I would choose like whatever the like lawyer approved version of Risk would be, because I feel like that would be the easiest one to make it to Sunrise. Like they're definitely would like beat the challenge by then.
You could just Risk, you could just wait it out, right? There's not a timer on Risk, right?
Probably not. I mean, Mr. LaBelle like might push like the pieces, to like get you to move quicker. But I still feel like even the shortest version of that game like would still be like 6 hours. So
easily.
Yeah.
Now the question is, because it's got mega rich billionaires, would would the risk actually involve real war by morning? That's the question I have to ask. These people are pretty well funded. Or as we learn in this movie, apparently they control everything. So, very cool. Well, listeners, viewers, because we're not on YouTube, if you enjoyed this conversation today, whether past or previous, please check us out. We are now on YouTube, as I just said. The best way you can support the show is by subscribing on YouTube, ringing the bell for notifications. That way you know when new episodes drop. But we are also still readily available on all of your preferred podcast apps and would much appreciate, with the blessing of Mr. LaBelle, a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Doing all of this will, of course, help us get discovered by more listeners just like you. And we need more people playing the game so that the odds of us surviving are higher. Now, that said, speaking of survival.
And the Oscar for Best Picture is presented to...
And the Oscar goes 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 to...
The Oscars. Ladies and gentlemen, 98 Academy Awards. We did a whole predictions episode on it, Laron and myself. It was hosted on Sunday, March 15th, and it was hosted by Conan O'Brien. Real quick, I want to talk about the program as well as the winners. Just a few stats I want to read off before we get to our reactions. One battle after another was one of the big winners of the night, taking home 6 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay. This is especially noteworthy because writer-director Paul Thomas Anderson had been nominated 11 times previously for films like There Will Be Blood, The Master, Phantom Thread, and Magnolia. So it was sort of like he never won one, so this was sort of like his big moment. You know, we got Christopher Nolan got his for Oppenheimer a couple of years ago, and this was sort of Paul Thomas Anderson, who's been around even longer than Nolan, or at least as long, if not longer. This was sort of like his big night. Another big winner of the night, Sinners, took home 4 Oscars, including Best Actor, Best Original Screenplay, Best Cinematography, with a noteworthy first win for a woman and woman of color cinematographer, and Best Original Score. Another winner, Frankenstein, won 3 Oscars, including Best Production Design, Costume Design, and Makeup and Hairstyling. And I think another just noteworthy thing, if you look at the full list of winners and compare it to sort of how the Academy has done things historically, the ceremony saw first-time winners in 7 of the 8 major categories. So not a lot of repeats, a lot of new faces. So that's all pretty interesting stuff. Now, Laron, I'll throw it to you first, because I know you've got a lot of feelings about the award winners. But I want to start. What did you think of the actual programming? Like in terms of, hosted by Conan O'Brien, how did the show run? What was your take here?
Yeah, I bring Conan back every year. I think he's great. I think he gets it. He's kind of the person that gives... Like, he twists the knife, but he doesn't want to, annihilate anybody. You know what I mean? He wants them to have a good time. That there's certain people who just love to watch them kind of squirm in their seats. But he's kind of in and out with it. He's like one jab and then he's out. He's not really going to, hurt him too bad. I thought he was great. I thought it ran very smoothly. I loved the way they did the in memoriam this year was really punctuated with the... especially with the emphasizing people like Rob Reiner and Diane Keaton. I also absolutely loved the live performances, particularly the Sinners reimagination. I thought that was great. That's not an easy feat to do live. And I think if you've seen that moment in the movie like that, it's really cool what they're able to accomplish in that short amount of time. So overall, I was generally pleased with the ceremony itself. Yeah.
You said he didn't really eviscerate anybody, although Ted Sarandos, he came out the gate for Ted Sarandos pretty hard right at the top, and it was pretty great because, most of the other ones he would almost kind of let it out, give him a little bit of a relief at the end. He's not that guy. He's like, we're in a theater with Ted Sarandos. Don't you see this? Isn't it great? We're all in a theater together. Movies.
Yeah. I should say people we like didn't get skewered too much. Yes.
No. It's cool. It's cool. Well, I agree. And the cold open from Conan in particular, where it was all based off of weapons, where he was in cosplay. I mean, that was incredible. I have to say, what a way to open the show. Get everyone's attention, and also that was planned. The amount of coordinating and production that went into just that opening. I mean, they had animations from K-pop Demon Hunters in there, and that's not cheap or fast to do. So I thought that pretty impressive. Sean, what was your take on the overall ceremony?
I mean, I had a great time watching it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. We watched it at the OFX with a big crowd, so everybody was into it. At the opening, like you said, we were laughing about it was giving very MTV Movie Awards vibes, is what we got, because the script, we kept expecting Ben Stiller to jump out doing something goofy or some impersonation, like back in the day. Um, I liked it. I thought it was a great show. I thought Conan did great. Whenever he was like going after Timothy Chalamet, we were like, "Get him!" Like it all seemed like everybody was having a good time. Like you said, he would roast and then kind of move on to the next guy. I dug it. It was a good show.
Good time. Love to hear that. And by the way, Oklahoma Film Exchange, OFX, and Oklahoma City hosting all sorts of cool movies and events like the Oscars. I went for the first time. So I've been to a couple of public screenings, but not since COVID have I been to a public outing. I went to a local bar in Seattle called Clockout, I think is the name of it. And it was hosted MC by a fellow group called Raised by TV. And it was a packed. I was kind of expecting it to be kind of modest, but like crazy standing room only like bar, and it was a decent sized bar. And the reaction from the crowd was awesome. And anyway, I wanted to call that out because Sean, the thing you're doing over at OFX, Oklahoma Film Exchange, is super neat. Creating a space where you can actually have a bunch of film fans in the same room together to watch and kind of laugh and cheer and all the good stuff. So thanks again for you and the whole team for hosting that. Chris, what was your take on the ceremony?
I mean, I echo everyone else. It's a good time. I think Conan is he's been around for a while. He's always been sort of the weird comedy, like back in the 90s when he first came around, he was more sort of an underground thing. Like he had Amy Poehler early on in her career doing like Andy's stepsister or Andy's little sister or whatever. So I like that he brings that kind of energy to something like the Oscars. Again, particularly with the cold open and the weapons references and everything. It was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. And overall, pretty well paced, too. There wasn't any point in the show where I felt like it dragged on, too. I mean, it was almost a 4-hour show, so it's still extremely long. But, it felt like it moved. Him being a good host, I think we've talked about this on the show many times, like, should there be a host or not? A host, you notice a host when they're you almost take for granted a host when they're good enough. You always, like, if there's not a host, people say we don't need one. You have a good enough host, you notice that they're not great. And you have a great host, you're like, wow, I can't imagine this show working without them. And I feel like Conan has done that this year and last year. I think the only thing I would add here, well, actually, first, Chad, I'm sure, did you stop your South by Southwest festivities to do the utmost important thing of watching the Oscars?
I did not. I was I was watching a movie for the first hour and a half of the Oscars, and I figured by then it wasn't worth it. So I just kind of kept the night going. Went to a comedy show. I was texting my wife. She was excited that Mr. Maya Rudolph won his first Oscar. Is I believe what she had texted me at the time. I watched a couple of the bits. Probably my favorite one is the supercut of all of the Matt Berry pronunciations of people's names. And huge Conan fan. I watched a couple of his bits, but I did not watch it live. I didn't, based on where I was, I didn't really feel compelled. I'd rather live in the moment than look at something that I feel like had already been hashed out for quite some time over the last couple of months.
Totally fair. And I have complained about this often. One of the changes in schedule coming out of COVID is they moved the Oscars back to March. It used to be in February. And now almost every year since like 2022, it is directly conflicted with South by Southwest, which I think is really unfortunate because there are people at South by Southwest who would be at the Oscars or people who miss South by Southwest to be at the Oscars. Industry kind of competition with itself. Don't appreciate that, Academy. I wish they would move it back. But you called out. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying. I talked with a couple of people. I am surprised that like now that South by is kind of run by the Penske Group, that like that they don't have like an official, like I'm surprised that they're not like selling tickets to like, at the Paramount or some other ballroom for like an official watch party. Like that could have been fun, to watch it with a bunch of folks that, had also seen, as we talked about, off my, like Spielberg was there the day before, right? Like you've got a bunch of like probably fun folks in the room. I know that there are probably, licensing and permissions and things like that, but like that feels like the type of thing that could be worked out. So instead, you did have, I'm sure I talked with folks, they just went back to their room. There were a couple of bars having like unofficial things, but there was it probably would have been an interesting time for like a community to come together and watch this. So kind of loss on their part, I think.
Yeah, missed opportunity for sure. And again, the licensing point you raised is interesting because in just 2 years, I think 2 years, the 100th Academy Awards, it's the whole show is going to be on YouTube, which is going to be a fundamental shift. And I mean, potentially a fundamental shift in how this entire ceremony is hosted and constructed. And I actually thought Conan did a great job throwing jabs at that to the little bit he did about, we're going to be on YouTube. And then they inserted the Jane Lynch ads throughout. Like that was really funny, but it does make you raise a question like, hey, Academy, I don't know what you're doing, what negotiations you're having with YouTube, but like, please seriously work that out, because that would be a nightmare. Just watch everyone watching, on their free YouTube subscription. And then there's just someone's speech is disrupted by like a really crappy, low quality ad. But I say that to say, though, I do think the licensing you call is sort of like a bit of a, what's the word? It's a rule of the old era, which is, it's broadcast on ABC. Well, you have to pay ABC in order to watch this in a public bar and promote it and sell tickets to it. Whereas I genuinely don't know if you would have to do that with YouTube. I don't think you would. So could change what's possible with watch parties, I have to say. Last thing I want to note is this does feel like we're either at the end of an era or coming up on the end of an era, because I mean, it was great to see a bunch of new faces. But again, just thinking about the fact that Warner Brothers won a bunch of awards. They were Sinners and One Battle were both Warner Brothers productions. They're likely going to be acquired by Paramount, who, by the way, notably had not a lot of nominations in any category. The fact that we're shifting to YouTube, and the numbers came back and the ratings were down something like 9% or something. Like the ratings are down, which, among this group or movie lovers, we're probably going to always watch it. But at the same time, like it does show that there is a sort of the cultural influence of the Oscars continues to erode, at least in terms of like the mainstream. And it's starting to feel more and more niche. So I just feel like we're on the precipice of, and maybe it's with the year 100 when we go to YouTube, the show just really looking and sounding a lot different. And frankly, maybe even the production quality taking some big turns too. Because I don't know how the contracts work, but I think part of the reason they're able to like really pump up the production quality with the hosts and everything is because ABC probably has money on the line that they can use, the Academy can use to kind of pay for some of these like higher profile hosts like Conan. So anyway, really interested to see what the Oscars looks like in the next 2 years, because I think it's going to look a lot different, especially with that shift to YouTube. It's going to be a game changer. On the winners, though, real fast. I'll throw it to you first, Chad. I'm throwing it to you first because one, you're the least attached to the moment of the watching him live, and I know you have certain feelings on some of the movies. So, One Battle After Another. Yes, Mr. Maya Rudolph winning Best Director, Best Picture, Best Screenplay, all that stuff. What do you think about the overall winners for the night?
I mean, I think I texted you. So the last episode of this show that I was on was the Avatar Fire and Ash. And I enjoyed that movie more than I enjoyed One Battle After Another. I just, it was fine. It was good. I did not understand. And I don't know if it went over my head. I didn't understand the love for that movie, amongst like the film community, amongst the film podcast community, a couple of big, notable shows that I listened to, outside of this, were really in on it. And so again, another reason that like I didn't feel compelled to go watch the telecast. I think we kind of knew, I think there were a couple of genuine surprises throughout the night, but the kind of biggest winners were not. I was really hoping that Sinners was going to find a way to pull through, or that something would have happened in the Academy voting to kind of change this. So yeah, I just it is what it is. I'm glad that he got it. There's always all kinds of talks of, is it actually for this movie? Is it the cumulative effect? Was it just his time to win? All of those things will always happen, when these things are voted on. I know that it was still probably seen as a commercial, maybe not a flop, but as not much of a success outside of the wins that it did get. Like you said, though, with both One Battle and Sinners being both at least distributed by WB, it was a big night for them no matter what. So I guess congrats, David Zaslav, and the giant amount of money you're about to make in the next 12 months as well. So despite cutting a ton of people from that company and kind of running on threadbare carpet in the halls, like they still found a way to make what was viewed as probably like the two best movies of the year. So kudos to them. I think probably a couple of the other folks here have a lot more to say that about some of the winners throughout the night.
Yeah. Well said. I appreciate the sportsmanship. That's great. We love to see that on the show. Sean, what was your takeaway from the winners?
I mean, for the most part, I was pretty along with everything. Obviously, there were some of those surprises you guys have mentioned. I also I liked One Battle After Another. I enjoyed the film. I see its importance. I get why people dig it. It's also a movie I'm never, ever going to watch again. It's not like on a Tuesday night, I'm going to sit down and put on One Battle After Another, but I've seen Sinners 8 times, since it came out in the theater and at home. So to me, that should have been the clear best picture. But I also, of course, have my, ridiculous love of movies like Tron, Ares, and I thought it got robbed on visual effects. That The Lost got a nomination.
Dude, we talked about this. Jurassic World Dominion over Tron. Listen, I think Tron Ares is hot garbage, but I can't deny it looked pretty cool and it has a great score.
It did. Yeah, it didn't get any of that, and I felt like it. I didn't expect it to win anything, but just the nom, especially over like The Lost Bus, Jurassic Park. I mean. But, other than that, I mean, Michael B. Jordan getting the best actor, I thought that was fantastic. I thought well-earned, well-deserved. His career is just doing fantastic. We've been watching him for years and years, and to me, it's perfect progression for him. I mean, I get Timothy and Leo wanted it, obviously, but, I mean, I was all about that win.
Yeah. No, I think... I'll pass it to Chris first, but yeah, the Michael B. Jordan was probably my favorite win of the night, honestly. If I throw it out there, Chris, what do you think of the winners?
I was also Team Sinners. I was really hoping for an upset. I knew it wasn't going to happen. I knew it was PTA's year, because the Oscars do kind of go this way. Is One Battle a better film than There Will Be Blood? I don't know about that. Shows is this a the cumulative effect that we've talked about before? Truly not to knock One Battle. I mean, again, I didn't dislike the film either. There's some solid stuff in it. I thought I did really enjoy Benicio del Toro's performance in the film. And Chase Infinity was really fantastic. She's going to be big, I think. But I definitely resonated more with Sinners, just from personal taste. It's visually stunning and a well-earned Oscar for the cinematographer. And as well as Michael B. Jordan for sure. I think playing twins convincingly is actually really hard. if you think about it. So anytime that happens in a film, I'm always championing that actor to get something, to get noticed. And of course they never do, because it's always a horror film like Dead Ringers, for instance, that got no recognition at the Oscars whatsoever. But yeah, overall I thought some solid wins. And Amy Madigan was definitely, again, this is something like she's been around forever. She deserves some recognition for her career. And she is really solid in weapons. So that was, I thought, a solid win for her.
Yeah. No, well said. Well, Laron, what do you make of all this? Oh, the winners.
That's funny when you say Amy Madigan, because I definitely said, like, after I watched that movie, I made a post and it was like, give her the Oscar, you cowards. I knew it would never happen. And then it did. It's like they heard me. So I would like to like pat myself on the back, because I'm sure they read my post and that's why that happened.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I was really happy to see that. And if you think about it, if you look at all the winners, it's like, even if you're adding Hamden in there, it's like there's two witches and a vampire won, Oscars. That's kind of cool, right? I mean, that's kind of cool if you think about it. It's like, it was a good night for genre movies. I mean, if we're putting into context, like Frankenstein won three Oscars, so it does seem like this diversified voting body is definitely a little bit more amenable to genre films. And we've seen that like last year with The Substance, like a movie I said, this movie's awesome. There's no way in hell that would ever touch the Oscars.
It's still crazy that it got all those nominated. I mean, I love it. Deserved. It's just crazy, though. Yeah.
It just blows my mind that they embrace that, because I'm like, really? I was like, after all this time, but it just, I didn't believe it. So that was nice to see. I was definitely Team Sinners as well. And I actually did predict that it would. I was predicting it for Best Picture, all the while knowing that was probably unlikely. But I was like, maybe this is a Moonlight moment, a Moonlight La La Land moment, and we're just gonna, hold our breath to the last minute, and then that'll happen. But I was happy to see Michael B. Jordan. I think by the time when Sinners lost casting, I pretty much at that point that felt like, this is going to be a one battle overhaul, because that was something that Sinners was.
I felt so confident about that. Yeah, I was so that was the moment I was like, oh, this is gonna go differently. But then we got the cinematography win later. I had one battle slotted for, and then Sinners won, and that's when I was like,
they flip flopped on those. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
because the actor awards went to Sinners, so I was like, oh well, then they're gonna win casting hands down. That's just where it's gonna go.
And they won. They won Best Ensemble at the Actor Awards the week before, So
yeah. But overall, it was generally. One battle was number 3 on my top 10 list last year, so it's not like I'm like super aggrieved that it won. I love P.T. Anderson; he's one of my favorite directors, and I do think he should at least have 3 Oscars by now. But I just think, as somebody, on rewatches of Sinners and One Battle, I've seen One Battle 3 times. I've seen Sinners 5 times, and I get something new every time I watch Sinners. Like, every time I watch it, it deepens in value to me, and in a substantive way. And then I feel like with One Battle, kind of just settles. Like, okay, this is what this is, and I enjoy it a lot. I think it's a fun ride, but I don't pick a lot of things from it. Like thematically, but I think it's still a well executed movie and a crowd pleasing film. So we've had worse Oscar wins, and so I'm not. There's no ill will there. But yeah, I was Team Sinners. I would have loved to have seen it, either a surprise win in director or a surprise win in picture. In either one of those, I would have accepted, and then I would have been fully satiated about the wins. But four wins for that is still good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm coming down. I guess I'm the most pro One Battle on this podcast, but it's not like Sinners was my number 2, and it was I just want to reiterate one of my ranking. It was pretty close. Like, I just felt like One Battle speaks more to the moment that we're living in specifically, and is also doing so in a way that is more inspiring and uplifting, which is also something that, probably irks some people, but I feel like it's really important right now. We need that energy and positivity if you're going to make meaningful change in the world. And he was able to do so through probably Paul Thomas Anderson. This is probably his most accessible film he's ever made for like the mainstream. And anyway, I just think it was an overall well-executed movie. I think it had a lot to say about the moment we're in, and also had aspirations for, and he even said in his speeches, like, this is a movie for how my generation kind of failed, and I feel like we owe it to you to try to like set you up for the next best thing, and we failed to do that. So, there's just a lot there that I really resonated with me. But Sinners is also a mastercraft. Anyway, short version, I think I'm not mad about any of the winners. And honestly, even if it had gone the other way, I would have been happy too, because I think Sinners and One Battle are both outstanding films and they have a lot to contribute. And I'm really glad that we got to see Sinners take home screenplay as well. I'm glad that they had a category they weren't competing with one another, so they could both kind of have that platform. Ryan Coogler is going to be back. I will say he will be back, and probably not very long from now, he will be back, and he will win an Oscar. And then, Laron, as you pointed out, when he wins, he would be the first Black director to win an Oscar. And I feel
in 100 years,
in 100 years, yeah. I feel pretty confident that he's gonna have that moment. I think I bring you back to, and is the cumulative thing fair? That's up for debate. I don't. You have to remember, if I were going to give it to Paul Thomas Anderson, I would have given it for him for There Will Be Blood. But you know what he was up against and lost to? He lost to No Country for Old Men, which is another American masterpiece. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I actually liked. He said in his speech, he's like, there are no best. He's like, there's no real best picture, and then he named, like, I think it was 1975, and he like listed all of the best picture movies from that year, and he's like, these are all masterpieces, like, and we all know they're masterpieces today. And he's like, this is just, you guys gave me this award based off of how you were feeling that particular day. And I appreciated that sort of like cadence and authenticity. And I think that Paul Thomas Anderson probably really likes Sinners too. So overall, pretty happy.
Yeah.
We've come a long way since Green Book, right?
Long way.
Yeah. All right, listeners. Well, there are our thoughts on the Oscars. What did you think of the winners? What did you think of the ceremony? You can comment. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment below. Or if you're listening on your preferred podcast app, you can comment on Spotify, or you can send us an email at thecinemetropolis@gmail.com. Also, give us a comment on Instagram. With that said, let's move into our spoiler-free review of Ready or Not 2, Here I Come.
The heads of the council families will try to kill you and your sister. Whoever does wins the high seat and controls everything.
Everything?
The world.
You're telling me you didn't know your fiancé was in a devil cult?
Listen, if you don't do exactly what I say, we are going to die.
So it begins.
So according to IMDb, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come is described as, after surviving one deadly game, Grace and her sister Faith must now outrun 4 rival families competing for a powerful throne, and it's winner take all. A few fun facts about this movie. This is, of course, a sequel to the 2019 horror comedy Ready or Not. I'm going to try to get it right. From Matt Bettinelli-Olphin and Tyler Gillette, aka Radio Silence, as the directing duo is known as. This is the first film was a horror hit. It made $57.6 million against a budget of $6 million. So a big sleeper hit that year in the horror community. And part of the reason it took so long to get the sequel is because following Ready or Not 1 being such a hit, the directing duo went on to direct Scream 2022, or as we like to call it on this podcast, 5 Cream, and Scream 6. And then they went directly from Scream 6 into Abigail. Now, this film, the sequel, Ready or Not 2, is considerably more expensive, costing an estimated $20 million. So, got to make a little more money on this one. However, I think the budget's used well, because this film adds quite a few faces to the cast. Of course, we have Samara Weaving returning as our Scream Queen, but we also have Catherine Newton joining as her sister. You have Sarah Michelle Gellar, Sean Hattasey, Elijah Wood, Nestor Carbonell, and crazy casting out of nowhere, David Cronenberg on the screen. Love to see that. And of course, this film held its world premiere at South by Southwest 2026 on March 13th and opened wide just a week later, so we didn't have to wait very long. Really quickly, just to give our listeners or viewers context here, what did we think of the first film in just like 1 to 2 sentences? And Laron, I'll throw to you first.
Yeah, I had a blast with the first one. I remember thinking, who are these guys? That like, what are the, especially like at that point in horror too. Like, you're just always looking for new emerging voices, and who's gonna pass the torch in that way, And so it was a fun ride, a fun concept. It was very novel at that time. Obviously the whole eat the rich mentality, which we'll talk about in greater depth as we go on with the podcast, and also several movies that have since used this same kind of theme. I thought it was a really fun time, and they definitely had like a strong handle on tone, in terms of finding that balance between humor and nihilism in a way. And I felt like it was a really entertaining 90-minute, kind of eat the rich bloodbath, and I was game for it. I had a good time with it, yeah. And Samara Weaving has really kind of shaped up to be a pretty great final girl, if you will. So I think we should be saying her name as in those modern iterations of that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A definite scream queen. To go back to the MTV Movie Awards, kind of descriptor. Chris Schultz, what did you think of Ready or Not, the original film?
I loved it. I'm a huge fan of that film. Again, it's not subtle in what it's trying to say, and I applaud that aspect of it. I like that it's very just kind of in your face. Like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Uh, it has a great sense of humor to it. Samara Weaving is fantastic. And yeah, it's just a super good time.
Yeah, very nice. And Sean, what about you?
I absolutely loved it. I rewatched it again right before seeing Ready or Not 2 because I couldn't believe it had been since 2019 when it came
Yep.
out.
Yeah.
I didn't seem like it's been that long, like 6, 7 years,
Yeah.
like ridiculous. But I loved it. The humor's great. I was having a great time rewatching it, cracking up, laughing. All the characters are perfect. The bumbling villains, like everything about it. I really enjoyed rewatching it. It's a fantastic film.
So it holds up for sure, yeah?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Chad, how about you? Ready or Not 1, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I actually rewatched it last night with my wife who had never seen it. So I watched it after seeing Ready or Not 2. I mean, I agree with everything you guys say. I think the biggest win of it is dragging out that question of, is there truly a supernatural underneath or
Mhm.
not?
Yes.
And it hides it really well. And I think has like the payoff at the end of the first one. I guess we can avoid like some spoilers for that as well, but like I think like the way that it gives you the answer at the end like was done in like probably the most perfect way possible.
Mhm.
Yes, I found so yeah, I also rewatched the first one the night before we saw the second one, and it's amazing. I kind of had forgotten how much it plays with the is there something supernatural happening, or are these people
Mhm.
just crazy? And the ending you kind of get to have your cake and eat it too because of the way they execute it. So it's
Mhm.
such a rich eating ending for lack of a better descriptor. That first movie was a revelation because horror comedies, I feel like we've, Scream. We were just before the episode, we were talking about the Final Girls. Like there have been so many like horror comedies that have deconstructed and reconstructed the deconstruction of like slasher films, for example. And Ready or Not 1 is not necessarily a slasher film per se, but it is sort of like that chase. You're being chased by a bunch of people trying to kill you, and they're all kind of crazy. The thing I love for most about that first one, outside of the ending, which is Chef's Kiss, it really plays with your expectations and like in terms of how the scene's going to play out. So, for example, there's a scene where she falls down and has to like in this pit, and I won't get too detailed, but she has to climb out. And there's like you see a nail, like you see like a little clip, and you're like, oh my god, is she going to hit the nail? Oh no, she's okay. Yeah, okay, she did or didn't do it. You know what I mean? And it's a thing that I find that Radio Silence is great at because we saw them deploy that very effectively also in Scream 5 and 6. This like, oh, you know how this scene's probably going to go, or will it? And then, they keep you on the edge of your toes. And I felt like throughout the whole movie, there is moment after moment where you're like, oh, I know how this is going to go. Oh, it's going a little different. Is it going to zag back? And sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't. Um, Yeah, great movie, great horror comedy, and I do think it holds up. And also, 90 minutes, guys. I mean, come on. Oh, so good. So good. All that said, that brings us to Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, though. And Chad, I actually want to kick it to you first. And if you maybe elaborate for us, like, what was your South by Southwest experience? And then from there, kind of tell us what you thought of the movie after some reflection.
Yeah, so this was like the Friday night big film of the night. So it wasn't like opening night, but it was still pretty early in the festival, which has been kind of restructured this year. I had a reservation for this movie. I showed up I think I showed up almost an hour and a half ahead of opening time and was surprised at how long the line already was for this, to the point that even the volunteers were like not prepared for as many people as showed up that early, and like the line kind of wasn't set up in the right place, and they had to come and move some people around and things like that. Made it in just fine. As as to be expected, but for anyone who hasn't been to South by or other film festivals, everyone in line, like, super friendly, happy to chat about, what else they'd seen, what they're looking forward to. Had a long chat about the first one, with folks that were in line, as expected. Again, like, everyone was a fan of that movie. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been standing outside in the surprisingly hot Texas sun for March. An hour and a half outside of the Paramount Theater. Got in, started a little bit late. They started by bringing so it was the Radio Silence guys, the writers, and then all of the principal cast that was there, which was pretty much everybody except Samara Weaving. For those of you who haven't been following, she's very pregnant right now. If you've seen her doing any other promotion, so I expect they didn't call that out, but I expect that is probably why she did not travel from LA to New York. But they were all there. They said hi to start, and then the movie ran. We were talking a little bit before, right? But that crowd, as you can expect, very forgiving. Everyone screamed at the right time, laughed at the right time. It is a group of folks that are into the experience, the communal experience of seeing a movie like this surrounded by a packed house of people, right? And it kind of, that energy feeds off of each other. And then, we'll talk about the film. And then, afterwards it was the Radio Silence guys, and then the four probably biggest cast that were there. So it was Sarah Michelle Gellar, Elijah Wood, not Dr. Robbie from The Pit, the other
Sean
Hennessy, yeah. And then Catherine Newton were the four that were on stage. Took a bunch of did not take questions from the audience, but took questions like kind of from the moderator. Were very humble, were great. Had we can talk a little bit later, after maybe we get into some spoiler stuff about what they had to say. I think probably the one big revelation that I think the guys have talked about recently is there was originally another stinger or a scene that was originally part of the first one that alluded to kind of the larger folks out in the world. It was cut very early on, they said, in the filming of the first one. So when it came time to kind of take another movie and turn it into Ready or Not 2, like they didn't really have to stretch far to be like, oh, what else is there? Like, where can we go from here? This notion of kind of larger evil in the world was kind of pre-baked in to the writing, kind of from one of the earliest stages possible.
Very cool. Well, love to hear that. I'm very jealous I had to miss this one, because this is like Ready or Not 2 feels like the dream South by Festival experience, because it's a horror, so it's scary, people get on edge, but it's also a comedy, and then the audiences just eat it up. That's cool. Well, now that you had the experience and now you've had some time to think more about the film, what did you think?
We're starting with me. I mean, I loved it. I think it ratchets it up just enough. It expands the world. I think the addition of Elijah Wood's character, and again, maybe we, but like, I think he steals the show here. He has kind of some of the hardest work to do. And I just love that, like, he just continues to do weird shit. Like, like, I think
Yeah.
he's one of those actors now that it's like, he made his nut, like, right. He's never really gonna, and like, so he just gets to choose the wacky and weird things, and the what he brings to the lawyer is all him. That was one of the things that they talked about. He kind of asked what they wanted. He has a tough job of explaining all this lore and, right, kind of keeping things moving. And they really kind of of all of the characters, they let him bring the most of whatever he wanted to this role, and I think for me, I think that shows.
Yeah, very nice. It is always a treat to see Elijah Wood in virtually anything because, as you say, if he's in a movie at this point, it's a movie he wants to be in, and he always is doing something crazy. It's a total blast.
Yeah.
Laron Chapman, what did you think of Ready or Not 2, Here I Come?
Yeah, so I went ahead and rewatched the first one right ahead of this one. It was pretty top of mind anyway, but just to kind of see what nuances were kind of different between the two of them, and you immediately, in watching them back to back, can kind of see immediately what's similar, immediately in terms of quality, what's better or worse or what have you. And while I do think a lot of people are pretty cool on this one, it seems relatively most people like it, but they think it's maybe slightly less effective as the last one. I had a really good time with it. I really thought that what really sells it here for me are the really, like, kooky supporting cast here. It's great seeing some 90s, hit makers, Sarah Michelle Gellar she's typically the victim in a lot of movies. And I've always said that she could have been a final girl, but people just love killing her. They killed her in Scream 2. They killed her in I Know What You Did Last Summer. I was like, she always was the badass. I don't know why she was Buffy. Like, why are we killing Sarah Michelle
Right?
Gellar? She needs to do the hunting, so it's really cool that Radio Silence understood that assignment. So they gave her that, and I thought that was great to see her there. Sean Hattasey, loved him in a lot of teen movies, also The Faculty, remember him from that. And then obviously we mentioned Elijah Wood, also a 90s star. Given that deadpan delivery is just perfect here. What I really love about his interplay with this is essentially that as we're getting to know a lot of the lore, like what's more fun for me about this one is it kind of levels the playing field where, like, typically the victims have, like, obviously the odds are stacked against them. But here we're constantly getting kind of a tug and pull with the clauses and the what have you of, like, oh, that actually works in the victim's favor. So, so you kind of keep seeing, like, the shift in power dynamics kind of throughout that, which made for a more fun process where it's not just like they're helpless victims that have to get through this process. But I think it's a lot meaner and nastier than the last one. You definitely feel the scope, the increase in scope, from the last one in terms of scale. And yeah, I mean, I think the novelty for sure for me, I think has kind of worn off. I don't know how much juice is left in this franchise, but I think for a second outing, there was enough fun to be had here to warrant the sequel, and I had a good time with it.
Yeah, very nice. Sean Peele, what did you think of Ready or Not 2?
I liked it. I also enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought the humor was great. I thought the kills were funny. The villains, the supporting characters were all just wacky and zany, but in a dangerous way. Where it's funny to laugh at them, but also these people are trying to kill you. Like, it's all fun until they're shooting a bazooka backwards. But that was supposed to be for your face.
Twice.
Yeah, twice. They just could not get that bazooka. No, it was fun. I like the first one better, but probably because of how original and fresh it felt when it came out. And this one has a little bit of that sequelitis where it's just kind of the same thing, but a little bigger, but like Laron said, they kept enough humor and enough, surprises, and it was meaner than the first one. Like you said, like, it's just, it definitely earned its place, I think, as far as a reason for a sequel. After the first one, I was like, yes, I would absolutely watch more of these. And that's what they gave me. I mean, they gave me what I wanted. So I had a good time with it. It was enjoyable.
Very nice. Chris Schultz, what did you think of Ready or Not 2?
Pretty much on the same page with everyone. It's a lot of fun. This is something where you hear of a sequel happening and you go, well, I don't know, did this need a sequel? That's always kind of the question on your mind. I think that they did really pull it off well. I think in terms of widening the scope of the original's Eat the Rich messaging, and taking this on this kind of global global sphere, I thought was really entertaining. And it is a lot of fun. And I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I really liked it. Didn't love it. There is the it's less novel. There's just no way around it. And the movie does pretty much follow the themes are very clearly the same. The movie is not making any trying to hide in any way what it's about. And it's like it follows the same plot structure, even to it pretty much to a T. And like you said, like everyone here said, it's bigger, it's bloodier, it's bolder with the scope, it's bolder with the kills. It does add enough rules that it does kind of keep you a little more on your toes. Like Laron, you were saying, there's more tension. It's like, well, actually, now that we've got this lawyer guy here, it shows that even the rich people have to answer to somebody, which does kind of make it feel like an actual game versus just a massacre where the rich people write all the rules. So that was kind of fun. I would say in terms of like elements that I liked that I don't think were in the first one at all, I won't spoil it, but there is a component that feels where a certain group of the characters are watching the hunt that kind of gives it this like spectator sportification of what's happening that we didn't have in the first movie. And I found that playfulness to be super fun, especially, again, without spoiling it, seeing how the plot unfolds for even those characters watching the sport. You're like, yeah, it's super fun to like talk, trash talk other people you don't like or clap or cheer whenever you're watching it. But then when you're in the actual game, it's a very different scenario, and it reveals a lot, different about you. So I really enjoyed all of that. Also, you guys have mentioned a great supporting cast. I would also give a tip of the hat to Nestor Carbonell as a former Lost Head, or not current Lost Head, huge fan, played the immortal Richard Alpert. I am still convinced he's immortal because he still looks exactly the same. But it's nice to see him. He's oftentimes being like typecast or put in these really small roles. Like he's a mayor. He was mayor in The Dark Knight. He was head of the police chief in the Rip earlier this year. He's those guys who doesn't really get a lot, but does a lot with the role. So to see him get to have more fun and get, even if it's still a supporting character, get more screen time to kind of chew the scenery a little bit. I really admired all that. And I will say, we'll talk about it more in spoilers. I love how hard they go at the end. They go so hard, and, there's part of me that's like, subtlety. It's a good thing. It's better storytelling. But then other times, like the Year of Our Lord 2026, I'm like, yeah, go big, go vicious, be direct and clear in what we're saying here. And I thought the movie found some really clever and playful and enjoyable ways to sort of demonstrate that, yes, rich people actually are, like, not just the rich people, like the richest rich of the rich people, like the 0.1% of the 1% are actually truly despicable people who will do literally anything to hold on to the power that they have. The way the movie does that is quite fun and very cathartic, I would say. We'll get more into that in spoilers. But before we do, maybe we can just go around the table and give letter grade verdicts. So Sean, I'll actually start with you. What letter grade would you give Ready or Not 2 Here I Come?
I mean, I'd give it a solid B. I mean, if that's where we're going, letter grades. Yeah, I mean, that's where I would come around to it. It's enjoyable. I'll rewatch it. Like, I already want to watch it again to see, more about it and get into it. But yeah, I'd definitely give it a B. If things I really want to watch again and again, I'll rate pretty high.
Very nice. And the nice thing is not short and sweet, so it makes it a lot easier to rewatch. Laron Chapman, what letter grade would you give Ready or Not 2?
I'd also give it a B. That's where I pretty much landed with it. I think it's a tick or two less as I mentioned, less novel than the last one. So I think that one definitely set the foundation. But I do still feel like there's certain set pieces in here that are a lot more fun. It's kind of the Scream 6 of this franchise, where it's like the set pieces are a little bit fun than the first movie, but The first movie is obviously better, like so. But yeah, I'd say a B, solid B.
So I'll be all right. Very nice. Chad Parizman, what lower grade would you give Ready or Not 2?
I'm in the same, like, I was a B before I heard these other guys say it for all the same reasons. I think, we'll talk about it later, but I think if we do get a third one, I think there are probably a handful of things that were introduced here that maybe on rewatch could elevate it, a little bit higher if they pick up some of those threads. But for now, yeah, totally enjoyable. Watching when this hits streaming or home video, watching these back to back in 3 hours, like I think that's going to be an incredibly fun Saturday night.
2 Ready or Not movies in less time than Avatar Fire and Ash altogether. I'd love to hear it, love to see it. Christopher Schultz, what letter grade would you give Ready or Not 2?
Yeah, I mean, I would say B, maybe B plus, just to give it a little bit of an edge for sure. But yeah, there's elements of it that aren't as strong for sure. That kind of weight things down a little bit overall. But yeah, it's nothing that ruins the experience of the film overall.
Yeah. So B plus. I'm also right down the middle B. I really liked it. I think it's an inessential follow-up to an essential horror comedy, but that does not mean it is less of an inessential movie. I think it's a great time, and because as Chad mentioned, they're both so short. These are like an hour and 30, hour and 40. You can easily back to back them. Mm-hmm. I don't know how often I'm gonna be like, ooh, just Ready or Not 2. But if I say, hey, let's watch Ready or Not 1, I'm probably going to say, you know what, let's just keep the party going and watch Ready or Not 2, because it goes down that easy. It's lots of fun, and it's worth a watch. I think go see it in the theater if you can see it, and a packed house with a horror hound audience, people who are really going to really lean into the humor and everything. I think that's an ideal way to experience the film. But I honestly think part of the reason that Ready or Not 2 even got greenlit was because apparently the numbers for it on Hulu during COVID were through the roof, and Disney's like, yeah, I'll take a gamble on some really positive Hulu streaming numbers. So,
because everybody wanted to eat the rich in 2020. That's what was going on.
And we're talking about, and spoilers, I'm going to ask the question, how do we feel about that now? Because I don't know that it's changed too much, but we'll see. So this is a very pro podcast. We're all B. Not masterpiece, but also great time. Absolutely worth your short hour and 35, hour and 40 minutes. Gentlemen, what would we recommend to people who really enjoyed Ready or Not 2, or maybe want to see more films or experience other media, whether it be a TV show, a video game, an audiobook, as Chad has recommended in the past? What would we recommend to people who liked Ready or Not 2? And Laron, I'll throw it to you first.
If you want to continue the game route, a really fun B movie is Game Night, which I think is a lot of fun. Kind of a survive the night movie as well. Chaotic things happening under the guise of a game. Another one recently, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is one that comes to mind. Again, another survive the night, a game that goes horrifically wrong. And then one that I think is lesser brought up, but I liked it quite a bit, was The Blackening. Did anyone get a chance to see this?
You were telling me you were singing the praises when it came out, though. I need to catch it.
I'm still singing the praises of The Blackening, guys. I mean, definitely. I'm upset that I didn't write this movie, because I did write like a treatment for a short film version of this same movie, and then a feature length version of it came out. Happy to those people who made it. They did a great job. But yeah, essentially, it's like if you had all black characters who knew the rules of these games and didn't make stupid choices, would they still survive a horror movie? You got to watch the movie to see if they do. But, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun, a lot of black jokes. But, I think you guys would enjoy it.
I am going to put that on my list, Laron, as a much catch this year, because I remember I saw the trailer and I was like, that looks like super fun. It came out, and then you were like, this is super fun. You got to check it out. It's underrated. And in classic Caleb did not listen to your recommendation. Not intentionally, just like by the time I was like, I think I could watch it, it was out of the theater, because it was not around very long, unfortunately. So
put it in your horror movie rotation whenever you get to October. It's a good time to watch it.
Let's go. I'm ready for October already. Let's get there. Christopher Schultz, what would you recommend to listeners?
So I'm thinking more in the eat the rich category as opposed to games. And if you want a particularly unsubtle eat the rich movie that is a lot of fun to watch, and is maybe not as good as what came before it, but certainly a good time. I would say George A. Romero's Land of the Dead, which is the fourth of the Dead movies that he did in the early 2000s. So this is George W. Bush, Iraq War era, George A. Romero, and it shows. And that's a compliment to it. It's not subtle, and again, that really works in its favor. Dennis Hopper is there playing Donald Rumsfeld, according to Dennis Hopper. There's some great effects from Greg Nicotero in it. It's a solid entry in a sequel that shouldn't be as good as it is. So I would say check out that.
Very nice. Land of the Dead. I really dug that movie when I saw it the first time, and I've seen it a couple times since, but it's probably been a good decade since I've turned it on. So I'm due for a rewatch on that one. I do really like that movie. Have a soft spot for. I think it came out when I was in high school or something. Yeah, I don't want to age myself, but it came out, and I was like, it really hit the moment well for me. Sean, what would you recommend to listeners who enjoyed Ready or Not 2?
If you liked Ready or Not 2, if you liked Ready or Not 1, I would always recommend Abigail. I know it's from the same directors, but I mean, it's a survive the night. It's a bunch of characters being chased around by a bunch of goofballs. You know, it's vampires instead of, what this was. And I loved Abigail, and I had so much hard time finding people that have seen it. Or even I mentioned when I'm talking about vampire movies, I always drop Abigail and people are like, "What's Abigail?" I'm like, "Oh, it's the poster with the ballerina," and they're like, "Oh, that was a vampire thing." I'm like, yes, and it's really good. It's a really funny, a lot of the same cast members. They're that meanness, that comedy, it's all there. If you like Ready or Not 2, watch Abigail if you haven't seen it. I highly recommend it. That and same
Catherine Newton's pretty great in that one too. And
it's great.
We did review that one on the podcast, but I remember something that we said, Caleb, was that, man, wouldn't it have been great if we didn't know she was a vampire?
Yeah.
Words right out of my mouth. I don't know how you market the movie without that, but it's like that would have been like a From Dusk Till Dawn level twist, because they like the first 30 minutes you actually don't know that, and it just is like anyway, that's a tough one, but great movie. Absolutely. Even if you know the twist, it's a super duper fun movie, and there's a lot that you don't know that is not obvious, by the way. You know the twist, but there are other twists that the marketing has not given away. So highly recommend. That's
they
a
do
great
some
call,
fun
Sean.
stuff with vampire lore in it. So there's some interesting twists on the classic vampire. So definitely
very nice.
They like exploding people, don't they? That's kind of their thing. Their shtick.
Yeah.
Yes. And stabbing
people and sisters.
And sisters.
Yes.
And stabbing.
Yeah.
Go back and watch, having rewatched all the Scream movies before Scream 7. I did the Radio Silence is easily the stabbiest group of the directors, like, because they love people, specifically people who get stabbed the most times who somehow don't die. They're really good at that one. But yeah. Great recommends. Chad Parizman, what would you recommend to listeners who enjoy Ready or Not 2?
So I'm gonna go. I'll riff on two of the things. One, I love a sequel that like picks up right where the first one ends, and so like Halloween 1 and 2, I think are a great watch for that. Back to the Future 1 and 2, and Karate Kid 2, right? Like I think those are all like fun ones that you can watch back to back, and it just feels like continuation. On the Eat the Rich, I don't know that most people don't recommend books on here, but I'm going to recommend a book series that also audiobook. It feels a little bit like basic internet, like middle-aged guy right now, but has anyone read the Dungeon Crawler Carl series yet?
I have been recommended. You were like, in the last 3 months, I've had 3 different people, one of them being you, recommend them to me. Please go on. Yeah.
I won't give too much. But there's very much the Eat the Rich theme comes through, but on a like a universal scale, a galactic wide scale. It has elements of Hunger Games, Across the Stars. It's post-apocalyptic. It is a lit RPG book, which I was not familiar with that, but it is basically, it is video game rules apply here. Folks know they are in a video game. I feel like that it has been all over the internet for like the last 6 to 12 months. It is kind of blown up. Big community hungry for this. The 8th book in the series is coming out, but they are very quick reads, and the audiobooks are excellent. So I know a lot of folks recommend those. So if you're not, if signing up to read 15,000 pages of books is not for you, check out the audiobooks. They're from a guy named Jeff Hayes, who's excellent. He does a ton of different voices. So, but a lot of the same things that we're encountering here get brought up in by Carl and the rest of his friends.
Very nice. Dungeon crawler Carl. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very nice. Great recommend. I got to get on it, man. I've had so many people hit me up about that, and they sound very my jam. Okay, I'm going to go a couple different directions with this. One, I won't belabor it, but if you're looking for Eat the Rich story that not enough people saw, The Triangle of Sadness, excellent movie. I don't want to say too much, but it's basically about you spend half the movie with a bunch of rich people on the boat, and then there's a boat crash, and then you spend the rest of the movie on an island with the same people, and there's a little bit of the, and we talked about this, another recent movie like this would have been Send Help, where you're like, oh, the power dynamics have shifted now that you need actual skills and not just money to solve your problems. So anyway, want to call it out, Triangle of Sadness. It was a huge, I got nominated for some Oscars the year it came out. Check that one out. If you were looking for something about like sort of like the same playful energy that I think we get in both Ready or Not films, in particular the first film, Adam Wingard, back when he still made good movies, You're Next is a great time. You think you're watching one movie, and then I probably recommended this on the show before. You think you're watching one movie, and it takes a big turn halfway through, and you're like, whoa, what is this I'm watching? What's going to happen next? I can't wait to find out. And then I'll also shift to just video games that have that feature a hide and seek mechanic that I think, if you're, you like the hide and seek playfulness, the gamification that you see in the movie. There's, of course, Dead by Daylight, which is a huge internet hit. There's always like DLC packs and new characters you can choose from that you can play on there. You can't play it anymore, but there was an amazing Friday the 13th game where it was like one person plays Jason hunting all the campers, and then the rest of the people are playing the campers. Amazing game that sadly was the victim of the current legal dispute with the rights to Friday the 13th. And that same company that made Friday the 13th went on to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre version that I believe you can still play. And it's a very similar thing where you have, one person who's playing all of these crazy Texas Chainsaw Massacre hillbillies, and then the rest of the cast are the teenagers trying to hide. So super fun video games. Highly recommend those. And lastly, this is a recent recommend, but it's top of mind. Resident Evil Requiem, the newest Resident Evil game, just came out not too long ago. And there's two different protagonists, and one of the protagonists you're playing in first-person mode where you're constantly being chased around a house by creepy things, and it is incredibly creepy. The other protagonist is Leon S. Kennedy from the video game, the big action side. I'm recommend the whole game, but specifically if you like the whole I'm running away from creepy things chasing me, the first person we play as another character also named Grace, by the way. It's a super fun, like there's zombies, there's creatures popping around every corner, and your adrenaline rush is real. Highly recommend that. That's of course on pretty much every platform, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch 2, PC. So Resident Evil Requiem, check that one out. All right, well, that is the end of our spoiler-free review of Ready or Not 2, and it sounds like we all like it quite a bit. If you don't want to be spoiled on Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, go ahead and tune out now.
Look, here's the thing about being rich, okay? It's fucking great. Okay, it's like being a superhero, only better. You get to do what you want. The authorities can't really touch you. You get to wear a costume, but it's designed by Armani, and it doesn't make you look like a prick. Yeah. Thank you.
Full spoilers ahead. Ready or Not 2. The first thing I want to talk about is the Eat the Rich theme that's very clear from the outset of both movies. Both of the films follow a very similar plot structure, and the theme is the first film, and they both begin with a big surprise game we got to play, run by ultra-rich people. You follow through and you see the game play out, and then it ends with Grace being drugged through a satanic ritual, only for her to outwit them before giant spontaneous combustions galore happen all around there. I love that in the second one. It's literally the same, but it's a whole cult room, and there's the way she tosses the ring in. Anyway, we'll get into it, but the way it plays out is just as fun as the first one, even if it's not as particularly surprising. So I just wanted to throw it, open up the question for the group here. I mean, what do you think about the film sort of double downing on the themes of the first film? What did you feel like? This is still fun. Did you feel like, I wish there was a little more? How well do you think the film kind of handled like upping the stakes using the same ideas? And I'll throw it to you first, Laron.
I was gonna say yes and no. I feel like it again. We've kind of drilled in the point that it's not as novel. But I also didn't expect that. I kind of went into it kind of thinking, because I was not someone who was really clamoring for a sequel to this movie. I didn't think we necessarily needed one, but if they felt the need to do it, it feels like to Chad's point, like movies that pick up right where the last one left off. It makes sense that we're kind of still in that realm. Because not much has changed. Just been a few hours or a few minutes, who knows? But I do think that there are a couple surprises here towards the end, I'd say. In particular, the final climactic scene is fun. That set piece is fun. I found that was probably the one aspect of this that felt like distinctly different from the last one.
Yeah.
And but otherwise, yeah, the rest of it felt pretty similar to the last one. Again, just upping the ante in terms of violence and what have you. It would have been, I think this probably would have landed a lot better, if they did have some crazy kind of avenues to go with the storyline. But I think that they played this one pretty safe while still keeping it, entertaining and keeping things moving along relatively quickly. So I guess I didn't have high expectations for this to be very vastly different from the last one. One thing I do wish they would do is take the 2 out of the title.
Yes.
It bothers me so much.
Oh,
it's like,
terrible.
Just call it Ready. It's already implied that it's a sequel. We don't have to put the 2 there. So just say, Ready or Not, Here We Come. That's a better title. The 2 is really obnoxious.
Well, that was a studio executive. It was like, because even at the beginning of the movie, it opens with just Ready or Not, Here I Come. There's no 2 in the opening title. You see it at the end of the credits, but very
they
clearly.
won't know. They won't know it's a sequel. They won't know it's the same movie. They'll think it's something. Come on, guys.
But
Give us a break.
I honestly kind of think. Oh, go ahead, Chad.
I feel like that's definitely from someone that's like, well, what if the full name doesn't fit on the marquee? So we need to put the 2 in, or like it doesn't show up. Yeah, like that's the only reason that I can think of. Like, again, like inserting it in the middle of the whole phrase just feels weird. Like it's like, oh, this is for the people that like, we can't have everything after the colon. And I don't know where that would be anymore. I don't know if that like, unless there's some marketing genius that was like, well, the mobile version of Fantango only has a limit of 68 characters. Like that's the only other thing I can think of is like, there's some marketing person that like, there's a reason to put that 2 in there.
I'm sure there was probably tons of like surveys and focus group done on this. It just is so silly. And my other point is, I honestly think you could probably watch this and not have seen the first one and be just fine. I mean, like, yes, you should. The first one's a better movie, I would argue. And I think, there's lore there and character stuff, but you could pick up and be able to follow. Yeah, you can follow. And they even cut back to like scenes from the first one enough times that like, it's you don't need the first movie to understand what's going on. Yeah. Well, Chad, what did you think about this? The double downing of it all. Were you pretty happy with it?
I was happy enough with it. I think it sets up. I think the tone of it's really good with that David Cronenberg and the what you referenced earlier. Right, he's clearly like way more powerful than anyone should be. I think what it falls down though is, I think you could have done some really interesting stereotypes of different of like these stand-ins for different types of rich people.
Yes.
And ultimately we just get them like they are different ethnicities and like there's no explanation, right? Like the interesting thing of the first one is like they made their money in games, right? And then he goes on to say like, and now we own 4 sports teams, right? Like there's other things, right? You could have had, if this was if you could have had a tech bro that was much more recent, right? You could have had an oil oligarch. You could have had, right? Like, I think we could sit around here and come up with 5 or 6, other types of like that. These are clearly defined people, and then you could have given them weapons, and you could, right? I feel like if you went in that video game logic of like,
Yeah.
these are all of these things, and instead, we just get like, oh, like they're South American. This is the Asian group.
Yeah.
This is the Middle Eastern group.
I agree with
this
that,
is
yeah.
the like,
And if you were going to go that route, like with the ethnicity, like, I mean, you could do like a musician rap billionaire like Jay-Z, for example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's a billionaire, and he came to his money over a long period of time, but he's still in that upper echelon. So you could have had
you could have
diversified that.
drug lords, people who made their money off of like a bunch of drugs, like you know what I mean. There's there's totally a lot of different ways you could lean into that. Chad, that's probably the third one. That's going to be the third one, right? Like, because that seems like low hanging fruit,
Well, yeah, we could. I mean, I definitely think like we could figure out what the third one would be. But yeah, like if there were different reasons to hate these people, but at the end of the day, it's just they have a lot of money, and they kind of. They don't know not only do they not know what to do with it, but they're all, they continue to be a bunch of bumbling idiots outside of a handful of them. Again, right? Like it really does seem like the twins, the Sarah Michelle Gellar, like they're the only ones that were, potentially trained here, right? That supposedly were brought up to like, to lead this council. Everyone else is just, again, it goes back to like they're a bunch of idiots that really don't know how to use all these weapons and don't believe, I don't know, like whether or not they believe in it or not. I think we'll get into it. There's some other interesting things that were added here, but in terms of the Eat the Rich storyline, there's really only like one guy, right, who potentially is remorseful. And again, Crazy Kids, the first one I think did the like, so like we're raising a bunch of sociopaths as children a little bit better than even the ones that we got here. So that was my biggest downfall. The theme still works, certainly in 2025, 2026. I think there's even more reason. And I think that's the biggest miss, is that, again, you could have had a political there's just too many opportunities and too many types of people that we all love to hate right now that they could have brought in here.
I mean, at this point, you could even lean into one of the AI CEOs, if you want to make it extra timely. I mean, I guess my thing is, to your point, like, and I think I agree with everything you're saying. I agree with. And to your point, I'm like, well, listen, this movie is making it very clear what it's about. So like, let's just make it really clear. And like, that is annoying to some people, but I'm also like, listen, if we're here to have a good time and laugh at like crazy rich people as a form of catharsis, let's make the Elon Musk stand in. Let's make, Sam Altman stand in. Let's, or Jay-Z stand in, however you want to do it. I mean, you can even do a Taylor Swift stand in. She's a billionaire now. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like there's opportunity there that if we're going to lean into the theme that we've already done, might as well make it like very timely. And I don't know, maybe there's a downside of that too, where it like dates the film, but I don't know. I think you're onto something there. Chris, what did you think of sort of how the film double downs?
I mean, so again, to the point that's been made that, the characters, the sort of villain characters aren't maybe quite different enough from the original film. I can certainly see that. I get where they're coming from in terms of saying, capitalism is a problem around the world, not just in the United States. And these ultra wealthy people exist everywhere. That messaging is clear, but yeah, in terms of the sort of variety of, we had sort of old money represented in the first film, and that's sort of represented with the Danforths, the Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I forget the other actor's name, who plays her brother.
Sean, what's his name? Yeah.
Hattasy.
Yeah.
Hattasy. We could have had a little bit more room for some variety for sure. But yeah, again, I think, you think about the sort of age of the audience that's going to be watching this. I mean, is this like a 13-year-old audience coming in to see a horror movie? Are they going to digest um, more subtle nuances? Maybe not. Which again, the non-subtlety of these films are a feature, not a bug. So, but yeah,
Well,
yeah.
And listen, especially if you're talking about the kids, and this is gonna sound so bad. Gen Z, it's not that I don't believe in you. I do. It's more about you were dealt a bad hand. Like, sometimes you just gotta be real. Like, I think better storytelling is subtlety, but in this case, like, especially if you're targeting younger viewers, you gotta be real loud and direct about the point. Yeah, and it's like, and that's not even about like the lack of intelligence. I think it's a combination of social media, the way social media presents itself content-wise. I think there's a little bit of media literacy there, but mostly it's just attention spans too. You know what I
I was
mean?
gonna say
It's
short attention span.
yeah. And that's not, by the way, that's not exclusively Gen Z. That's everybody to a certain degree. But I just think, like, again, if you're targeting younger, especially with a horror comedy where you have a point, you got to be like, hey, guys, this is what we're saying. Yeah. I think you're going to call that out, Chris, about the age and the target audience. Sean, how about you? Double downing, work for you well or not?
I thought it definitely worked for me. I knew from the beginning that they were going to double down whenever I call it like surprise Cronenberg. Whenever he shows up, like Star Trek Discovery, like he shows up in Star Trek Discovery weirdly a lot, and it's just, you don't even care about the show. It's just he's so interesting to watch, and whatever he's doing, I'm there for. So when it opened with him in it, even though they iced him right off the bat, I was just like, oh, okay, this is. He was involved. It got me interested. And of course, I had a weird obsession when they're evacuating the lodge and they're walking through and there's a giant like oil painting of Cronenberg, like just this. And I kept thinking about how, what do they do with a painting like that? Where does that go? Why don't they put that on a merch store? Like, I love, it's a dumb, weird thing with me. I guess, oh God, Independence Day Resurgence. There's that's a stupid movie, but there's a painting of President Whitmore, I think,
Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman's character from the first movie. There's a big painting of that, and I won that in a Twitter contest. So I have in my closet a giant painting of President from Independence Day Resurgence. That was just like a weird thing. So when I saw this one, I saw the giant painting. I loved it. I knew I was in. It was going to be bigger. It was going to be more fun, and we haven't really gotten to the ending, but I love just the nod. The guy, Mr. LeBaron or whatever his name was, shows up again, and all he does is like a half-second little just a little nod. Sounds like if they make a third one, they can do whatever they want with it, but it better end with just a quick little, that dude shows up again at the end and just like, like just, I love that. I really dug it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up the ending, because I think that's the one thing I want to. I agree with everything that's been said. The ending for me is probably the part that, when you talk about the meanness, I think is where it's. I will say this movie overall is less playful. Like I mentioned, like one of my favorite things about the first one is like the playful it has with the audience. I actually feel like this is the least playful of the movies that I've seen from Radio Silence. What it trades though is brutality. And you see the meanness and the brutality to both the character, all the characters, to Samara Weaving, her sister, and also the rich people throughout. But the ending in particular, I think if you're going to continue to make the point that the richest rich people on the planet are actually awful people, I think this is a great job. I actually think her throwing the ring into the pit was chef's kiss, because these people they have had so much power. Either they've killed a lot of people stepped on a lot of people to get there, or they were born into it and they've never lived life without it. So like all bets are off. They will jump into the pit full of dead goats and whatever, and they will dig through and they will kill every person in the pit if they can just have the ring of power, And I think it just goes to like show like how there really is no morals at the top at all. Like, they don't care. It's all about grabbing power. They'll say whatever they have to say. They'll kill whoever they have to kill. It just did not. And the movie, I think that was a very fun and creative way to do that. And I love that we have, Grace Samara Weaving's character as like sort of the audience stand-in that's like, I don't want this shit. Just, have at it. I just want to live my life.
Cannibalize yourselves.
Yeah.
Go out. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Well, I thought what was particularly ingenious too is that at the end it's like, no, anyone who grabs the ring can grab the power now. So you have like the German servant woman jumping into the pit as well to grab the power, and it's like this great equalizer of of greed coming in together, and the lower class and the the upper class is going at it, and again, not very subtle way of saying capitalism can wreck anyone.
Well, I love and say there's that whole scene where Sarah Michelle Gellar's hunting the woods, and it's like literally like I'm not. Listen, don't blame me. It's the system. It's the system that's causing me to do this. You're a part of it too. In fact, you participate in it too. I can't help it. This is just how it works. And that was a really nice touch. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I have one other thing I want to say, but like as it relates to like the themes, anything else you guys want to add about the ending in particular? I guess the Elijah Wood being like, there's surprisingly little verbiage about this in the rules, like stuff like that was a nice touch. Anything else want to add about the end, Chad or Laron in particular?
Well, that little phrase you just mentioned right now, like it kind of is, is kind of it feels like a subtle nod to where we are now. It's like, I mean, the Constitution's there, but apparently you don't have to follow it. Like people were just doing the honor system. You actually can just say, I'm not gonna do that. So it's just like we didn't prepare ourselves for that kind of power grab because we assumed the goodness in people would just kind of outwit everything. And so, but once you get one person in there willing to just kind of, grab it by the jugular, it's like, I can kind of destroy everything underneath it. So, but that's what that reference to me felt like, like a joke about, but.
And just to add on that, from the earlier in the film, I mean, what gets us to the end, right, is this like, there's actually a loophole, and it turns out it's like Olivia Chang's character is like, everyone else is like, get my jet in the opening, and she's like, get my lawyers, right? She's like the only one that seemingly is level-headed of like, I think that there's a way out of this. So I think to introduce that into like, there is this like series of rules that we all still have to follow. And that's what gets us ultimately to the end where she, agrees to marry Titus, I think is again, like a nice little addition to the lore. And I do, as we're thinking about the first one and the second one, and maybe this leads into, I know where you want to go, Caleb, but, the turn of Titus, like Titus is like at the beginning is seemingly like the idiot brother, like the son, Cronenberg's character doesn't really, seem to have a whole lot of faith in him. And so, this kind of having to prove yourself, and that ultimately ends with like him betraying his sister at the end, I think is really interesting. And I think actually is a little bit of a better, twist or development than in the first one with her husband ultimately kind of going with the family, right? Which like the whole movie in the first one, you are like, where's he going to fall? Do I believe him? Right? We don't know him enough. In this one, it does seem like he is kind of acting out of the benefit of the family and kind of elevating them. And so him ultimately to your point, to stab and kill his sister, like literally in the back like that, to me at least was like a little bit of a shock. I did not expect him to go kind of full, but that sets up kind of just how crazy he is by the end. But that to me, I think, is one of the better kind of twists and elevations from the first film.
Yeah, no, I think so. And Chad, I think that takes us right into like this sort of the Scream Queen siblinghood. The siblinghood being a very key theme for Grace's character in the movie. I thought there was an interesting thing they were doing, and I'm curious about how well you guys thought it worked. I used to have this podcast where we reviewed Batman the Animated Series with a friend of the show, Joshua Unruh, and we always talked about opposite number villains. Like, all right, what's the story we're telling? Okay, now to communicate the idea behind the story, we're going to introduce a villain who is an opposite number in a specific kind of way to demonstrate the point. And this movie does that through the siblinghood, right? So you have Grace and her sister Faith who are estranged, and it's sort of the story of how they either are going to how is their relationship going to survive or not? Are they going to be able to make amends and really build a new relationship, or are they going to turn on one another? And I thought it was interesting that we had that, the Ashcroft siblings turning against each other, even though they were united in the beginning. As the film plays out, their long-time relationship, their certain like jabs they've taken at each other over the years, the mistrusts, the misgivings, the entitlement they both have in their own way, ends up being their downfall. Versus you have, again, Grace and her sister haven't talked in years and hate each other at the beginning. I was just curious, like, how did you guys, what did you guys think about this sort of opposite number of villains, I guess? Like, or was this do you think it really added to the way we were able to understand more about Grace and Faith and family? Or was it more like kind of window dressing, like a nice little, oh, that's a cute thing you did?
I mean, it definitely there's a juxtaposition there in terms of like how seeing how with Grace and then what is Catherine Newton, Grace and Faith, both of them,
Faith,
they
of
kind of
course.
see. No, that's right. There's a joke about that in the movie as
The
well.
joke, yeah.
I felt like when they leaned into humor, I was fine with that. Like there was the joke about the guy she was dating and whatever that wasn't actually the guy she was dating. He didn't exist at all. Like when they leaned into it for like a joke, it worked for me. When they tried to be on the more sentimental side of things, it kind of dragged the story down for me a little bit because this isn't that kind of movie where we're really like invested into the deep depths of their relationship. But in terms of just illustrating the contrast between them and Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattie, I felt like they in the one end they're competing against each other, where the other end like they actually care to see, like, they keep doing this tug of war. Like, I do actually care if you get harmed, whether I'm admitting that or not. So that there was a nice contrast there, showing how they pretend not to love each other, they pretend not to care, but they actually are. There's actually some heart there. I think that worked better in that regard, but.
So overall, you were not really into the sentimental component. You thought it was more the playfulness was the selling point.
The playfulness worked better for me, just for this type of movie. I didn't. Every time they would have kind of a heartfelt kind of moment, I was like, let's get to the. I'm not that invested. I'm not invested enough in this aspect. I get that you're sisters. I've already bought into that. I don't want you to die, but like, I'm not here to watch you guys cry about it. Like I just. I'm sorry, guys. That's not what I want in my Ready or Not movie, but I'll watch it in sentimental value. Okay, like that's why
Oh, sentimental value. That's a cold off the cuff recommend there. If you do want familial drama that's real and meaty, that'll make you cry.
There's a movie for that.
Yeah, exactly. Sean, what did you think of the sisterhood sort of subplot storyline?
I like the addition of it for this movie. I thought, if you're going to do a sequel, if you're going to build on it, I mean, if they just had herself, in the jam, but it wouldn't have been as interesting. I mean, again, it would have been like, oh, we just did this. Like they're just chasing.
Yeah.
Adding the sister, I thought the dynamic there was fantastic. I liked that they weren't like good friend, like close sisters. Like they were, they were separated. They were, they hadn't seen each other in a long time. I thought that was interesting, having antagonistic main characters to each other. I thought was interesting. I thought it was a great idea to put that in the movie like they did, instead of just two siblings that are just like, oh, we're best friends. There's no conflict. We're just, we know who's the one in charge and who's the one that's not. Like this one, they're both in a situation they don't know what to do. I mean, obviously, Samara had been through it just for the first movie. She just went through this. So she had, like, follow me, and the other sister's like, do we go this way? Like, I thought it was great. I thought it was really well thought out to write it that way.
Yeah. Very cool. Chris, anything you want to add?
Just that for me, we did see a lot of this estranged sister relationship in Scream 5 and Scream 6.
Yep.
So that it felt a little too familiar in that regard. But at the same time, Samara Weaving and Catherine Newton have a lot of great chemistry together. They're really, you know, as Laron was saying, when it's comedic and it's played for laughs, they play off each other really, really well. Catherine Newton is kind of getting up there in sort of screen queen territory as well, so it was cool to see her interacting with Samara Weaving in that way. Yeah, and to the point that, you know, we needed a new character to sort of go through this with Samara Weaving is definitely, you know, key to the storytelling of this. So, you know, I didn't mind that aspect of it as much, but I was sort of ready to get to, you know, more kills and fun times.
Yeah. Chad, bring us home on this. Anything you want to add about in terms of like, you know, what worked or didn't about the siblinghood storyline?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been covered. I think, you know, one of the things that they did point out kind of during the discussion is, you know, they basically, as the two sisters get closer, right, the two siblings, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattasey, get further away, right, and so there is this point where they kind of cross each other, and like that was by design, right? Essentially, like the family, the kind of familial bonds are essentially kind of breaking for one and strengthening in another. You know, I think the only other thing I would add that we haven't talked about, like, I think it does give us that great like fight scene where they're each fight. There's one in the wedding. Samara Weaving's in the wedding, and then, you know, in the hallway, Catherine Newton's getting beaten up. I think that was visually like one of the better parts of the film. I thought it was a really good kind of ongoing fight scene, and it wasn't just you know, an axe. It wasn't just a gunshot. It was this you know, this kind of back and forth where each one's getting the upper hand and things like that. I thought just played out really well. With, I can't remember what the song is now, but I remember at the time being like,
turn around.
Yes.
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Around.
Yes. And so, yeah, like I think
the pepper spray. That was such a great gimmick.
Where they can't like see each other now, and they're like, yes.
I got a big laugh. For sure.
Yeah. And again, like, it was good to, you know, it brings back this, like, they're a bunch of bumbling idiots, right? A lot of these things happen by circumstance, not by design. But you know, yeah. So I think you get that, and I think just with the two sisters, you know, I'm glad they didn't, but it does. Right, there probably is a version of this where one of them dies, right, and maybe there is a Samara Weaving, you know, does actually sacrifice herself for her sister, right? Like, you could see some type of version of that going on. Glad we didn't go there, but it does, I think, give it a little bit more stakes than if it was just Samara Weaving alone, where we assume that once again, you know, she will outwit and outsmart this family.
Yeah. Well said. I don't really have much more to add. I am with you. I would say if I was going to sum up my feelings, it's pretty close to Laron's. I'm with you, man. The comedy worked great. The set pieces worked great. Whenever there was a couple moments where it's like, this feels too real, and a movie that's not really about being like not real in that way. And
it kind of unearned with the time frame that they have to do to kind of deal with their art. We're already like in the thick of the conflict. It's like I don't really have time to deal with the backstory of your issues. That makes me sound so heartless. I just mean not in this movie, guys. I do have a heart. I promise.
They keep the movie lean, keep it fun, keep it light. Again, the dynamics having two of them adds. There's just it's. I would say it's almost exclusively upside, but I don't know that it has. It is kind of fun to see the opposite sibling pair, and I think, Chad, the scene you're referencing is when basically Sarah Michelle Gellar's like, yeah, just go ahead and kill him. It's cool. There's that's the moment where the trust, I think, on their side breaks, and we see that split go the other way.
Yeah.
And that was a good scene too. But I didn't really feel like the movie really had much to say. It was more like just like kind of a playful like plot dynamic, just like, oh look, we've got another set of siblings, and they're coming out from the opposite direction, and it was fun. Well. I think we're about out of time. Just to kind of close us out here. Do we want a Ready or Not, Here I Come again, or do we feel pretty satisfied? Because I will say, if you do a Ready or Not 3, my whole take is you really can't use the same plot template again. It would have to, or you'd have to do something real, have a real thoughtful, interesting twist on the same formula. Otherwise, it's going to start to feel kind of boring. And I'll throw it to you first, Sean. See you nodding your head. What do you think?
Oh, I absolutely. I want one more. That's it. Don't make a 4, don't make a 5, no spinoffs. I'm okay with one more, kind of wrap the trilogy up of this character, of her character's experience with this organization, with this family, or the families, because now there's a new power vacuum again, kind of like at the end of the first one, there was a head seat vacuum. And now this one, there's an entire council vacuum. So obviously, for the next movie, I'm just hoping they don't lean into like stunt casting, like, and just actually have big celebrities like a Taylor Swift, like that Mr. Wonderful guy or whoever, like a Tech Pro, like actually have the real people show up, and play fictionalized versions of themselves. That's a route they could go. I mean, but I would watch one more. I'd give them one more. I think they've earned that. I think that would be fun. Tell her, finish her tale.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Laron?
I'm kind of indifferent. I feel like I would be fine if this is where we ended, but if we do go somewhere, then that would be the route that I would want them to take. I think they should also open up the landscape here. They kind of did that here a little bit more. It's not as much of a chamber piece as the first one. Would be kind of interesting to maybe have it be, maybe not in a mansion. Maybe it's
Yeah.
maybe it's out in ordinary life, and they're chasing her around in some different capacity. That would be kind of interesting, but also, yeah, maybe there's some secret.
It'll be in their private. It'll be in their private Hawaiian compound. Do that. There you go.
There you go. Something there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just change the setting a little bit, maybe. And then also, maybe there's a clause, another clause that we haven't, that, the fine print, that we didn't read
Well, yeah.
here.
So Elijah Wood does have to come back for the third one. We're saying, right?
Oh yeah, he has to actually, there is one other thing, that sort of,
Yeah.
I could see that happening. That would be the route I would take. But also, if, again, as I said, if they ended here, I think they're ending very strongly. I think that's fine. I'm also fine with Radio Silence doing other new original things too. I as you mentioned, I really loved Abigail. I mean, kind of wish they had done Scream 7.
Kind of really wish they had. Yeah.
You kind of really wish they had now. Yeah, I think that they have other things that they could utilize their talents with as well. But if they made a third one, I would be their day one.
Okay, very nice. Chad, ready or not, here I come again. Yes? No?
So it's Ready or Not 3. It's You Can't Hide, right? So they have to partner with the Fugees, right? Like they have to go get that. That's the third one. And to your guys' point, like they flip the script. This is now them hunting down all of these other family. Like it's her and her sister now, right? Like supernatural style, right? They are now out in the world. Like they know this stuff exists. So it's You Can't Hide from them. And it's them essentially like taking down the rest of like the LaBelle's people on Earth, right? And it's maybe it's like a Horcrux thing, right? Like they continue to weaken him, like each family they take down as they go through. So I'm all in for it. To your point, we need another a different version of this. Maybe we have to give them, a few years to get there, but I don't see this one going away. Would love to see the two of them together again in something else. So I'm all for it.
Very nice. Yeah, we'll see. Box office wise, I think it had. I should look at the numbers, but it had a solid enough opening. But I mean, the thing is, it's only $20 million, so it doesn't have to make a boatload of money in order to justify doing a third movie. So, I feel like the odds are semi high that we get a third one, especially if it does well enough in the theater and also performs well on streaming, which is another factor I think a lot of studios are looking at now. Chris, what would you want from a Ready or Not 3? Or maybe you don't.
Well, I think it's going to depend on what things look like in another 7 years, right? So, we have the continuation of those themes from 2019 showing up in very bigger, very bolder ways, and again, the global aspect of this cannot be underemphasized. Just how much this has reached sort of a tipping point in a lot of ways. So yeah, in another 5 to 7 years, let's see what's happened, and then let's see what Radio Silence can say about it with another Ready or Not movie.
Yeah, well said. I'm kind of with you guys. I think if there's a cool idea there and they want to run with it, great. I also am not like hungry for another one either. It's like sometimes people are like, you want pizza? I'm like, sure. I will never say no to it. It's good. It's tasty. But are you saying, am I asking you for it necessarily? Yeah, that's kind of how this feels. I think you're onto something, Laron, though. I would like to see Radio Silence do up more originals. And this is a conversation I think we had off air with a friend of the show, Jason Black, after our Oscars episode. Like, Denis Villeneuve, who is about to, by the way, Doomsday coming at you December 18th. Get your tickets now. He made Blade Runner. He's going to have made 3 Dune movies. And we're like, oh, what is he going to do next? Can't wait now that he's got all this clout from Dune. Oh, he's going to go make James Bond. And, and I think, Chad, we probably talked about this too. Yeah, like it's another thing. It's like, well, you've got this amazing talent who's theoretically done the work to have his blank check Christopher Nolan movie. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go make James Bond. And I feel the same way about Radio Silence. It's like, you did the 2 Scream movies so you can do originals, and then you went right back to a sequel to a movie you already made. Now, maybe it was one of those, we really wanted to tell this one initially anyway. I would love to see more original stuff, though. I think they add a lot to the conversation in horror, reinventing a lot of things we've seen, like, vampires be another example, Scream movies. They're really inventive and sort of like staying true to what we know and love, but also doing something fresh and new. So, yeah. Probably prefer another Radio Silence original over a Ready or Not 3.
We are not. I just looked it up. I did not know that they were attached to this. Apparently, they're doing The Mummy 4. Like they're doing the Mummy.
Yeah,
movie.
Right. They are doing them. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So like they are taking the bigger studio paycheck. I would imagine. Like that, and like that is straight to Universal. That is. Yep.
And this is the one with Brendan Fraser. We got 2 mummies coming out.
Yeah, the one Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are back. Yes, yes.
Wait. What's the other mummy? There's another
Lee Cronin's Mummy comes out in a matter of days at this point. Yeah. Mid-April, like April 17th, I think. Sometime middle of April.
Watch the trailer. It looks brutal and wild. I'll say that. We'll see. Mean. We'll see if it's any good, but it looks mean. It looks like a mean mummy. It's not going to be laughs in that one.
I do love the first 2 Mummy movies a lot, and I'm not even going to go to bat and say the second one's great, but I have a huge soft spot for it. Mm-hmm. Those guys seem like they have the energy and the sensibility to pull off that movie, so I'm interested. Yeah.
Look, I just hope The Rock's back in it. I want to see those. I want to see those guys work with Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson's like, I picked the wrong Safdie brother for my Oscar. Guys, what are you going to do for me now? So,
well, I'm just hoping they can explain the swap of, because, with the Mummy 3, they swapped out Rachel Weisz for Maria Bello, and now they're going back to Rachel Weisz. So,
yes. And apparently I read that they said that it is going to stay, the Dragon Tomb Emperor, whatever, the third one is canon. They are keeping that in the canon. So it's going to get referenced.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Well, there you have it, listeners. That is our review and in-depth discussion on Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. We all think you should go check it out, preferably in a theater, but also even when it hits streaming, it'll be worthwhile there. Gentlemen, this has been so great to have a full cast to talk about Oscars, talk about Ready or Not 2. Really appreciate all of your time and willingness to sit down and chat with us. Sean, VHS and Chill, where can people follow you, and tell us a little bit more about what you've got in store for your farewell tour?
Yeah, VHS and Chill. You can follow us, VHS and Chill, or VHSandChill.net. Any of the socials, Instagram, Facebook, VHS and Chill OKC. Can follow along. Right now, I'm in the middle of my farewell tour. I've been doing VHS and Chill for 10 years, just doing movie screenings at various venues across the city and other places in Tulsa. And I've definitely come to, I guess, the end of that. I feel like with the formation of the Oklahoma Film Exchange and the things that they're doing, I feel kind of like I don't need to do it anymore. Like, because there are places in Oklahoma City now, other film groups are popping up doing stuff at Bookish and things where, I did it when I started it. It was just like me and the Oklahoma Film Society. Like, we're the only people doing anything, other than AMC, or General Cinema or whatever. There was just nothing in Oklahoma City at all like this. So now that there's other film groups popping up, there's Oklahoma Film Exchange is doing their stuff. I kind of feel like the thing I did it for 10 years. I'm good. This farewell tour is me showing films that are really personal to me instead of like trying to show stuff that I think people are fun or things people haven't seen, which is why I've done like Bicentennial Man. I've done Dick Tracy, like movies I grew up and watched growing up. in April, on April 25th, we're going to be at Rodeo Cinema. We're going to do Elusive, which is a local Oklahoma Bigfoot comedy film that I loved when I was working at Rodeo. They were filming that movie, and I helped them test the DCP and do things like that. And at the end of the movie, I made VHS copies for the cast and crew of that movie, put it on VHS and made a case and sent it to all of them. And so like Mickey, the director, Brad, Chad, they're all coming back to do a Q&A for that screening, going back to Rodeo again because I used to do VHS and chills there for years. And then after that, I'm going to a place in Norman, and just through August is when it'll end with a big show at the OFX. Will be kind of the end of the VHS and chill. And it's not like I'm done. It's just doing that is kind of over. And I've got all these different ideas, all these different other things I want to do. I'm working on a short film. Everybody's working on a short film. I've got something I'm putting together, and I'm also shot a bunch of stuff for that I kind of really want to focus on and spend time finishing that. And, there's just all kinds of other movie shenanigans starting to pop up in Oklahoma City now, and Oklahoma in general, that, I want to get involved in or help or, do what I can without just showing goofy old movies on VHS, which has been a lot of fun. And I've met, all of you people, through VHS got me to Rodeo got me to, all kinds of stuff. And I've met so many people and cool people over 10 years that are it's been an experience. It's been just a blessing to be able to do it. It's so fun. Just to say one, Bustamante, the guy who runs the 51st Street Speakeasy, he told me, because I just did the Dick Tracy there, he said VHS and chill. He said he loves what I do because I stop time. He said everything's going too fast. The world is crazy. There's always stuff. But he goes, you're always watching Dick Tracy. You're always watching, some old VHS movie, some goofy thing. You just want to pull people out of it just for a little bit to just sit back and enjoy. Not necessarily fine film or masterpieces, but, it's somewhere where people can sit and watch Surf Ninjas and have a beer, it was just, and not think about everything that's going on. And I really kind of saw that when he said that. And it's just, I just love what I did, but definitely ready to move into some other things.
Well, appreciate all you did for the Oklahoma City film community. Again, I think I really enjoyed participating in the Jeff Goldblum Film Festival. That was a fun time. Anyway, congrats on 10 years. The fact that you're able, as a guy who runs a podcast, which is not the same quite as hosting monthly movie screenings, but doing anything for 10 years takes a certain amount of commitment and grind. And I think it's like, you should be really proud of the thing you're doing. And also, another thing that I haven't gotten there yet, but you realize, do I want to keep doing this, or do I want to do something else? And I think that also takes a lot of courage to say, this thing I've done that I'm proud of, I need to take a break from and move on. So anyway, congratulations on 10 years. And sad I will not be in Oklahoma City to be there to see the end of it. But what you're doing is invaluable to the community. So thank you for that. Chad Parizman, where can people follow you and all the great things you're doing online?
If you work for a brand that's thinking of starting a podcast, talk to me. I am C. Parizman on anywhere I want to be found on the internet.
Very nice. Nice and simple. Laron Chapman, where can people find and follow you?
You can follow me for more episodes here at thecinematropolis.com, or you can follow me on Letterboxd at Cinna_Black_man.
Get those Letterboxd follows. Follow Laron. It's a great time. Christopher Schultz, where can people find you online?
I'm mostly active on Instagram. That's about the only place I still post anything to. And you can search my name, Christopher Schultz, or my handle is Agastus.
Gastus. I love it. You can follow me, of course, on all the social media channels. C Masters Talk, that's letter C Masters Talk. thecinematropolis.com, you can find more thoughtful conversations like this. I'd also say I have made a huge pivot with our social media strategy. Once Twitter died, we are now full gung-ho on Instagram at the moment for Cinematropolis. So if you want more updates, you get some special short form reviews that Laron, you just did a special review last week. In fact, maybe you can tell me about that. Special Instagram exclusive content. It was Instagram exclusive, it was initially Instagram exclusive. People saw it on Instagram first. Yes.
Yes, are you talking about reminders of him?
Yes, you did that exclusively for Instagram. Eventually I put it on the RSS feed, but you made it.
Yes. The Colleen Hoover novel.
Yes.
I did sit through it. Yes. Tariq Withers, who was also in him, the horror, I guess the horror movie that was produced by Jordan Peele wasn't very good. So him and now Reminders of Him. So I feel like there's a weird trilogy that we got going on, with these two movies.
Even uses the same font, by the way, him. It's kind of fun. Check it out. Yes, you can find exclusive reviews like Laron's review of Reminders of Him on Instagram. So that's at the Cinematrop. Otherwise, I'm on Letterboxd. Check it out there. Hey guys, it's been a fun time. It's funny. This is actually a low-key part 1 of our part 2 Grace review series, because we reviewed Ready or Not 2, starring Grace, and we're moving on next week for our review of Project Hail Mary, which also stars Ryan Gosling as a different Grace. So make sure to stay tuned. We got some exciting guests in the pipeline. I think it's a great conversation. Ready or Not 2, check it out, but also Project Hail Mary. Catch it on a big screen. We'll talk about it next week. Catch you again next time.